Hey, we're recording, Eric. Okay, Eric, don't get nervous, all right? Just I'm a pro.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Thanks for easing my pain on this.
930 bloody interviews. Get out of it. Welcome back to the UK Americana Bar Show video podcast. We really do appreciate it. Before we bring you our next video, just enough time to thank George Dukas for lending us some of his music from his new album, The Long Way Home. Thank you, George. Really do appreciate it. So, without further ado, our Nashville correspondent, Mr. Eric Dahl in Nashville, Tennessee. He's going to tell us all what's happening, what's going on. I like to call him is our Mr. Nashville Music USA here in the UK Americana Bar today. Just made that up. Right, hang on. I'm the one that's getting nervous. You ready? Give me the clapper.
Of course.
Not the crapper, the clapper.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the UK Americana Bar TV show podcast. You're never going to believe it. It's not every day we have a bit of royalty on the show, but today we have. It's our very own correspondent in Nashville, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eric Dahl. How you doing, Eric?
Doing great, Sam. Thanks for having me on the show. I'll tell you what, it's fun keeping up with you and the team there, in the UK on all the great interviews you've been having on also. And it seems like we share a lot of these artists in common to where either you interview them first or I get them on the Rock and Review. And so we're it's all about the music artist.
Well, thank you for saying it. Do you know that you put our way Cam Bogle?
Amazing talent.
We interviewed him a little while ago, and he is amazing. What a great voice, that guy, and a great songwriter. What a great guy,
Yeah, it's funny to me, and you and I have been working together for years, Sam. But it's like, so much of the talent, that either originates in the U.S. or originates there in the U.K. And crosses back and forth performing. Yeah. And it, as you and I both know, it just comes down to great songwriting, great performances, and whether it's the solo artists or the full bands, there's always something interesting going on in the music world, and with your podcast now, you're really tapping into it. Plus, the TV show and everything that you've had in the past, it seems like things are kind of getting bigger and better.
Well, that's one of my that was one of my questions to you. To give you a big thank you. Yes, we had our TV show on Sky, and people keep coming up to me and saying to me, they say, how did that Eric guy get backstage at the Opry to speak to Dan Rogers? And I said, well, I know.
Right. Yeah, and that was so much fun, and even, when you and I did the piece from the Ryman, when we went there, and fortunately, knowing a few people here in Nashville, Tennessee, they will give me views and share things, and talking with Dan Rogers, which, as you know also, Sam, Dan just got promoted a week or so ago. So now he's like even higher up. You and I know so many of the artists and the behind the scenes people, Sam, to where, I'm able to reach out to these contacts and kind of get us in, and have those kind of interviews. And I think that is so much fun for both of us to be able to have those contacts. Like we're saying, Dan, has been promoted at the Grand Ole Opry and is going to be doing even more. And so, I was thinking, for this next time, maybe we do like a behind the scenes walking around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, at the Grand Ole Opry. And then, once again, for people that haven't been here to Nashville yet, we can show them like the individual green rooms, Sam, because each one was designed by a different country music artist. So you got like the Porter Wagner, you've got the Marty Stewart, and their rooms essentially, Sam, set up with a giant guitar pick on the floor. So when an artist comes to perform on the Opry that night, they're given a number, and then that is their room, and there's a mirror in there and water and snacks, and they go in and practice before they pull them out on the Opry stage to perform live. Because, even with the Ryman, the Mother Church, it's like everything's kind of small. They don't have the green rooms, but they're at the Grand Ole Opry now. They have very nice rooms, and so you can, when you walk by, like last time I was there, and you'll get such a laugh, Sam, it's like there's Vince Gill and Amy Grant practicing before Vince goes out on stage.
Wow, that's fantastic. So people over here were just so excited by it. And you're right, to go backstage and then for the UK Americana Bar, and it did us a hell of a lot. So we owe you a big thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I think we're going to do even more once you and I figure out all of the things that we want to cover here. Bringing country music and bringing Americana music, all of it, to the UK through your show and everything you and I do together. There's so many great things going on at the Country Music Hall of Fame with new exhibits, certainly with the Johnny Cash Museum. I think I told you, Sam, that the Glenn Campbell Museum has now moved into the Musicians Hall of Fame. Wow. So all of those items that, Glenn played on his Good Times show, his guitars, his outfits, everything, even the movies he was in, those items now of from his personal collection are in the Musicians Hall of Fame here in Nashville too.
Eric, we're talking to Ashley Campbell, which is Glenn's daughter.
Right, an amazing banjo player and artist in her own right.
Fantastic. So put a word in for us, please, Eric.
You got it.
You've interviewed, I think it says here in my little book here, 930 musicians, artists.
Yeah. It's hard to believe, Sam. With our little show here in Nashville now in its 12th year, we have over 9. Right? Yeah, it's starting back in January of 2012, and now that it's airing in other states and cities around the United States, it's fun to be able to have all these different music artists and bands on. In fact, I just booked. You'll appreciate this, Sam. The Frontmen of Country. So we're going to be doing an interview with all 3 of those guys from Little Texas, from Lone Star, and from Restless Heart.
Wow.
The 3 lead singers. So we're going to be doing an interview with them in a couple weeks as well, because they've got a new album coming out. And we're going to be having Rhonda Vincent in, the Queen of Bluegrass, but it's always fun to me when, you'll have somebody on the show or I'll have somebody on the show and we go back and forth with it, and all the fun we have with the interviews, Sam. It's just amazing to be able to showcase
you can see the fun that you have when you interview. I mean, you do have a ball, don't you? I mean,
totally.
It's funny. And you'd think that some interviewers or interviewees are different than others, but actually you've got something in common, which is the music. So look, I'm dying to ask you, one of my sort of heroes, Dolly Parton. So you've interviewed a few times, right?
I've only had her on once. She was supposed to come back on the show last year for her rock and roll album.
What's she like?
It was amazing. It's so funny too, Sam, because back when we interviewed Dolly back in 2015, and now when any music artists come on the show, they always go, "Hey, we watched your Dolly Parton interview." And it's like, it's always so flattering. And, and the thing is, Sam, going in and interviewing Dolly in her studio here in Nashville and sitting next to her, and she is such a real person. And once again, with Dolly, it's like, people have asked me, just like they asked you with the artist, what's she like? It's like, as she comes across on TV and in interviews and everything, that's how she is in real life. There's no fakeness.
It's funny. Somebody sort of, I won't name the artist, but kind of had a little dig at me and said, "Sam, why do you always get so excited when you're in the studio with the artists?" And I'm thinking, what did he mean by that? And he said, "Shouldn't you be a bit more calm and professional?" I said, "Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm a musician myself, or kind of, as it were, and it's to see these guys and you're sort of talking to them and they're talking to you like music. Can't do it. I've got to be excited and all the rest of it.
I think that's both of us, Sam. I think and once again, I think the artists enjoy it because the difference. And I'm not certainly knocking any other interviews. I know your work and I know my work, and I know that you and I both do a lot of preparation for the interviews. We listen to the albums. We do the prep. We do the research. We know their history. We know their current work they're doing. That's what I did with Dolly. And, after interviewing Dolly Parton, we got done with the interview and she taps me on the arm and goes, "Eric, I forgot how well you prepare for interviews. Thank you." And it's like going, and that's Dolly Parton, that you're interviewing, the icon. And then before she had to go interview with some people in Germany right after me. And I said, could we possibly have a picture with Dolly so that we can promote this because it's going to be airing, across all the United States and the different TV stations. And the publicist, Sam, you'll so appreciate this because I know we both get this. The publicist said, "No, Dolly doesn't have time. She has to get to the next interview, Eric." I'm like, okay. Dolly walks up and hugs me. So the picture that you've seen with me and Dolly said, "Oh, there's time for Eric."